Quite recently, a lot of controversy has flared up in the English-speaking segment of the internet, caused by extremely controversial photographs that show a huge submarine that is strikingly similar to modern nuclear-powered submarines. These photographs, shared by social network users, became a real discovery for alternative history researchers who dared to challenge the generally accepted ideas about the past and quickly attracted the attention of a wide audience. The first reports of this incredible event appeared in a small African English-language newspaper, where the journalists who took these pictures presented their version of what happened. Apparently, such a discovery opened up completely new horizons for further research, but also raised a lot of questions and gave rise to incredible theories about the past of mankind and its unknown possibilities. Users of the World Wide Web, faced with this shocking publication, rushed to express their opinions and assumptions. Many commentators accused the authors of the publication of using Photoshop and neural network programs to create fake images that could be easily refuted. The snowfall of criticism and distrust of the facts presented seemed to have almost wiped off the face of the earth that very elementary interest that, in theory, such shocking material should have generated. Against the backdrop of these controversies, soon enough authoritative sources were found that confirmed that about 10 years ago, in one of the remote areas of the Central Sahara, similar excavations had indeed taken place, which could have led to such a discovery as a submarine buried under the desert sands. Life gives the opportunity to be surprised, and people have focused their attention entirely on this surprise. The massive presence of various agencies and scientific specialists significantly created intrigue and raised a wave of speculation about what was actually happening in this remote and difficult-to-plough area of the desert. At the excavation site, one could see not only surveyors and archaeologists, but also employees of African intelligence services, as well as NASA and CIA agents who were studying UFOs and extraterrestrial anomalies. Their noticeable and unexpected presence immediately attracted the attention of not only local residents, but also world journalists and researchers who tried to get to the truth, sincerely interested in what this area hides. According to an unnamed employee of the Institute of Archaeological Research of the Sahara, who agreed to comment on the leaked excavation footage on condition of anonymity, in 2014, a large-scale scan of certain areas of the desert was organized to search for underground sources of water. These attempts to lift the veil of secrecy from the circumstances of what was happening at that time raised more questions than answers. The project was part of the ambitious plans of African authorities who seek to return the green and blooming Sahara as it was several centuries ago, before the global catastrophe in the 19th century, an event that, according to many researchers and historians, should be avoided. It is quite possible that this revelation could influence current ideas about regional history and the development of civilizations. The role of the Sahara in the history of human culture, it turns out, is much more multifaceted than is commonly believed. By studying local conditions and resources, scientists have discovered many opportunities to restore the ecosystem and attract multi-million-dollar investments to the region. The Sahara, long considered barren and lifeless, may in the future be of interest to investors from all over the world. Vast, unoccupied areas of land that can be started from scratch are already included in the closed and coveted spheres of interest of the world's business elites. The African scientist mentioned more than once said, communicating with local journalists and reporting on the possibilities of improving the policy and use of desert lands. During these activities, surveyors came across a huge metal object which was located at a relatively shallow depth, just a few dozen meters away. The decision to bring in an excavator and check what it could be led to astonishing results. The workers were amazed when they dug up part of the fuselage of some clearly ancient but well-preserved structure, said the African archaeologist, who discovered an incredible sight that will forever remain in his memory. The feeling of the importance of this moment greatly increased the experiences of all participants in the excavations, and each subsequent step became more and more significant. From the very moment when we were awakened by an urgent call from above at 3 o'clock in the morning and summoned to the excavation site, A real sensation began. The archaeologist continued his story, folding his hands on his knees, waiting for his words to be understood. When their team of specialists was delivered by helicopter to the tent camp of surveyors and local workers, they were met with a breathtaking landscape that was impossible to forget. Under the light of the lanterns, a part of the body of some kind of gigantic metal apparatus appeared before us, which looked completely different from anything we had ever seen. The archaeologist added, realizing that history was set in a completely new way. By this stage of his research, he had no room for doubt. We immediately contacted our intelligence services and space experts because, frankly, we thought we had unearthed an ancient alien spacecraft, a whole UFO. He continued, a look of confusion on his face, wondering how such a situation could have arisen. However, this assumption turned out to be only the beginning of the uncertainty and paranoia that gripped all participants in the unforgettable episode. The next morning, huge black helicopters with no identifying marks landed at the excavation site. People in yellow radiation protection suits, armed to the teeth, came out of them and dispersed all the local workers, scientists, police and onlookers. The archaeologist described the details, sensing a growing neutral anxiety around what was happening. It was like the intervention of a powerful force that wanted to keep everything secret and in no way allow people to delve deeper into the excavations. I immediately contacted my superiors, but unfortunately they ordered me to leave there as quickly as possible and not to tell anyone anything. He continued, full of conflicting emotions. This phrase became a nail in his mind, because it contained fear and discomfort. Meanwhile, a whole group of special services quickly formed around it, each with its own set of different goals and interests. For the archaeologist and his colleagues, it seemed like a scenario from a gripping thriller. They found themselves in the middle of a large-scale operation full of secret measures and hidden devices. How they managed to get to the very heart of the Sahara so quickly remains a mystery. The researcher continued to share his impressions, and this question remained with him forever. Indeed, in an instant, everything around was transformed into an indescribable event in the center of the desert landscape, filling it with an indescribable atmosphere. But those weren't all the surprises. I was confused by the fact that some of them spoke Spanish, but they looked very serious and professional. They were all armed. The archaeologist added, trying to analyze the extremely unusual situation that had arisen. All the local specialists, including him, were taken to a special tent nearby where they underwent several strict anonymity procedures. Fingerprints were taken, retinas were scanned, and even various tests were taken. These precautions felt like a mere manifestation of the danger in all this. I managed to take a few pictures of the incredible find, but now I'm in danger, he said, with alarm in his voice. The understanding of how serious the consequences of his discovery could be paralyzed his thoughts. It soon became clear that they had been forced to remain silent and sign non-disclosure agreements. We were all put on one of the big black transport helicopters and flown back to the city. He concluded his revelation of that historic moment when the secret became little more than just a green dot on the map. However, the mystery created by this discovery was only just beginning, and here a multitude of new questions began to grow. According to the African scientist, he kept silent about this discovery for 10 long years, avoiding discussions and comments about what happened. However, as his health gradually deteriorated, he came to the conclusion that he needed to tell the world about this incredible find in the sands of the Sahara. There is nothing left to lose. Let the new generation of historians and scientists study our planet and not be afraid of new discoveries. We were silenced then, but I can no longer remain silent. The African archaeologist concluded his truthful story, and his words reflected hope for the future when the truth can come to light.